Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. Welcome back to our Uddhava-gita course. Now we're in this very exciting chapter where Krishna is describing the mystic yogic superpowers, the siddhis, a very fascinating topic in the whole tradition of yoga, of the Vedas, of how these yogis managed to obtain massive superpowers, even beyond the stuff of the Marvel comics and the DC comics kind of superhero, like massive powers. And now in this class, we'll see Krishna showing you how to do it. So it's a great class, right? You're going to be able to learn the way to achieve these superpowers. So let's get right down to it. So now, of course, if you want to watch all the previous classes of this course, this is the 80th class. This is amazing. This is already the 80th class in this course. If you want to watch all the previous 79 classes, make sure you become a member of this channel, and the instructions are here in the description of the video. And then check out Uddhava-gita.com, where you can see the whole course nicely organized. Okay, so we are in the 11th chapter, 11th canto, 15th chapter, verse 10. So of course in the last verses, Krishna listed first the 8 super powerful powers, then the 10 less powerful ones, and then an extra 5 ones which didn't even, wasn't counted. This was like, it was 8, 10, and then 5. And now he's going to go back to explain the 8, how they are achieved. So, one who worships me in my atomic form, pervading all subtle elements, fixing his mind on that alone, obtains the mystic power called anima, the mystic perfection of anima. So remember, anima was the power to become smaller than the smallest. And the way to do that is to worship Krishna. Remember, Krishna said that the 8 superpowers, the 8 massive superpowers, the top 8, were ones that came from him. And he says the other 10, those came from sattva guna, those came from matter. So you could obtain those from matter. But the 8 massively superpowers, because they were like godlike, they were like, supreme Lord, not just like God in the sense of the devas, as in the God of thunder. No, but they were like God is in Ishvara, like they were like, it was in Krishna. They were like godlike superpowers. So those came directly from Krishna. So the person who's worshiping, so he's going to get it from Krishna, so he has to worship Krishna. But to get that special anima power, he has to worship Krishna in his atomic form, pervading all subtle elements. So you'd have to first even be able to meditate, understand the subtle elements, not the mahabhutas, not the gross elements of nature, but the subtle elements, which are mind, intelligence, and false ego, manas, buddhi, and ahankar. And then not only that, then perceive the atomic presence of God within even that already subtle matter. But then here's the trick. If you're feeling like, oh, wait a second, I thought in this class I could actually learn these powers. Well, you can, but here's the trick. On that alone, fixing his mind on that alone. This is the trick. This is why all these superpowers were for the path of meditation only. Because you would have to train your mind, your brain would have to be rewired through decades and decades, centuries of practice. Rewiring the brain, working on focus, on attention, this ability to as you know, in Ashtanga Yoga, we have the yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, breathing, pratyahara, withdrawing your senses from the world, dharana, concentration, dhyan, meditation, and then samadhi, full absorption in the exact tiny subject of your meditation. So that path where you like concentrate, dhyan, so dharana, dhyan, samadhi. So working on that ability, not even pratyahara, I mean, most of us would stop at pratyahara, right? Because just the ability to recall your senses from the external world. So asana, I'm sitting down, pranayama, I've gotten my energies and my breathing, and now I can recall all my senses from the external world. Even that is like, wow, just. And you have stories, like famously this whole Bhagavad Purana is being spoken because Parikshit Maharaj was cursed to die in 7 days. Why was he cursed to die? He was a great emperor, a great devotee, a wonderful person, but he was tired and he was exhausted from his hunting, and he came to the ashram of this Brahmana and he just wanted some water. And he got there and he arrives, he's the king, he's the emperor, he arrives, and the Brahmana is just sitting there in meditation. And he's like, hello, Haribol, hello. And the Brahmana is just, and he's like, yes, good morning. And the Brahmana is just, and then he gets angry. He's like, this guy, what? He's ignoring me. I'm the king. I'm the emperor. What? I just want some water. What a jerk, Can you? He's just ignoring me. And then he gets really angry and he gets a dead snake and puts it around his neck. And even then, the Brahman is still with a dead snake hanging around his neck. And he's like, oh God, what a jerk. And he just goes away. Parikshit has a dark moment like that. He's a wonderful devotee, pure devotee, but just for the Leela's sake, he has a dark moment like that. And then much later, the Brahmana doesn't wake up. The Brahmana comes out of his trance. He's like, oh, there's a dead snake around my neck. How odd. So that's pratyahara. He wasn't there. His body was there, but his mind was somewhere else. He couldn't hear a whole troop of the emperor arriving, calling out to him. He couldn't hear that. He wasn't around to hear it. Somebody put a dead snake around his neck and he didn't perceive it. I mean, what would you do if I put a dead snake around your neck? You'd be like, ah. So he's so pratyahara, he had collected his senses. His mind was deep in samadhi. Just wasn't around, not here anymore. So this ability, again, they would, obviously these yogis would live for centuries even. There's reports of yogis living for centuries even these days. Before, in the past, in the great, the distant past, in other yugas, they would live for thousands of years. So this is the kind of practice, obviously you're not going to get this today in Kali Yuga, because this would require thousands of years working, rewiring your brain to get this deep, specific, more specific, super specific focus. This is the path of meditation only. It's a different path from what we're following here. It's a different path from what Uddhava-gita was following. Uddhava was following. Different path from what Arjuna was following. Different path. Not the top path. It's a different one. It's not the most recommended one. The most recommended one is the one we're sharing here, the one we're practicing, the one that Uddhava practiced, the one that Arjuna practiced, the one that Krishna teaches in general. The path of enlightened life. Where you do, your life is an offering to Krishna, you live your path of Dharma, and the here and now is an offering to Krishna in Sattva Guna. This we all can do. It doesn't require, a whole rewiring of the brain. It doesn't require some amazing abilities. It just requires effort and determination, but it doesn't require, it's like sports. It's like you see sports. My child does ice skating. Been doing it for almost 2 years now. Going to classes every week. And there's so much, and I did it for a while as well. And it's just, you have to work on it so much, and it doesn't even look that great after so much effort. It's like, and then you see like, an athlete, and they're spinning around, and they look so elegant and graceful, and everything looks so easy. And then you try it. I mean, I don't know, if you've never ice skated, it's the scariest thing. You go there like, oh, and they're like spinning around and flying. Because it just took hundreds, it took thousands of hours. The brain being rewired, the body, and then it looks really easy. You're like, yes, okay. And that's just with athletic stuff, with body stuff. This is just mind. So just rewiring the mind, focusing, just working on this, and then having this ability. So all these, and the same thing with the Yoga Sutras. When we get to the Vibhuti part in the Yoga Sutras, chapter 3, where Patanjali is describing also how to get all these different siddhis, all these different powers. Vibhuti means power. All these different yogic superpowers. It's the same thing. He says, okay, you just do that and you focus your mind on this thing. Focus your mind on that thing. Focus, because he describes the more of the non-theistic superpowers. So his are like, yeah, okay, focus your mind on the pole star, and this will happen. Focus your mind on, this part of your body, on this nadi, on this thing, and then this will happen. So just like focusing on one aspect of your body, on one, we call nadis, connecting point. Focus on this, focus on that chakra, focus on this thing, focus on the pole star, focus on the moon. Just, meditate on the moon, and then this will happen. But of course, we all stare at the moon and nothing, it's nice, but we don't get any superpowers from it. Because even when we're looking at the moon, we're kind of looking at the moon, but we're looking at everything else. Our minds they're not trained. They're kind of like always dispersed. You're talking and you're doing this and you're doing that, and your mind is this and that. But these guys were just on that alone, fixing his mind on that alone, and really was that alone, like there's nothing else in existence. In this level of samadhi, there is nothing else in existence. You even go beyond the concept of I am meditating on that object. That's dhyan still. That's meditation. I'm here, I'm meditating on that thing. And there's nothing else. That's amazing already, but that's still dhyan, meditation. Samadhi is like, there is no more I am meditating on that. It's only that. That's the only thing that exists. Nothing else exists. You don't see anything else. You don't hear, you don't feel, you don't think of nothing else. The soul thing in the mind, in the conscious, is that object. This is the kind of meditation we're talking about to get superpowers. And again, just like, it takes years to be able to do any kind of simplest, ice skating, whatever, to do this will just take thousands and thousands and thousands of, hours of practice, years of practicing all day long. All day long, 10,000 hours of practice. 20,000, 30,000. Because even like these days, they measure meditation in tens of thousands of hours. So like a great meditator on earth today is one who's got like 20, 30,000 hours of meditation. But now these guys would have to have 30,000 years of meditation. This is way beyond. So anyway, so there we go. Fixing his mind on that alone. Anima refers to the mystic ability to make oneself smaller than the smallest and thus able to enter within anything. The Supreme Personality of God, it is within the atoms and atomic particles And one who perfectly fixes his mind in that subtle atomic form of the Lord acquires the mystic potency called anima, by which one can enter within even the most dense matter, such as stone. Verse 11. One who absorbs his mind in the particular form of the Mahatattva and thus meditates upon me as the supreme soul of the total material existence achieves the mystic perfection called Mahima by further absorbing the mind in the situation of each individual element, such as sky, air, fire, and so on. One progressively acquires the greatness of each material element. So now, anima, the smallest of the small, mahima, the biggest of the biggest. So now we're meditating on the atomic form of the Lord for anima. So for mahima, we'll meditate on the Lord as a super soul of all existence, the Mahatattva, the base, the total material energy. So the Lord is the soul of the totality of the material energy. So the biggest of the biggest. And so then you attain Mahima. But then he says, he didn't mention this before, now he's mentioning, look, by the way, there was these extra powers, extra aspects of the power you can get, which is to then, once you've meditated on the entirety of material existence, of the material energy, you can then bring this super focus of your mind to the different mahabhutas. So starting with what's translated here as sky. Sky means ether, which means vacuum, and then air, which means gases, and then fire, radiant energy, and then water, liquids, and then earth, solids. So then different aspects of the material energy. And that would give you the greatness of each material element. So you become like a, earth bender, fire bender, water bender, etc. Purport. There are innumerable verses in Vedic literatures explaining that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is qualitatively not different from His creation, and thus a yogi may meditate upon the total material existence as a manifestation of the external potency of the Lord. Once the yogi has established his realization that the material creation is not different from the Lord, he obtains the perfection called Mahima Siddhi. By realizing the Lord's presence in each individual element, water, fire, earth, etc., the yogi also acquires the greatness of each element. However, the pure devotees are not very interested in such perfections because they are surrendered to the personality of Godhead, who exhibits such perfections to the infinite degree. Being always protected by the Lord, the pure devotees save their precious time to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus they achieve for themselves and others samsiddhi, or the supreme perfection, pure love of Godhead, Krishna consciousness, by which one expands one's existence beyond the total material creation to the spiritual planets called Vaikuntha. So, it's very good that in the purport here, the acharyas are, of course, showing us the true conclusion of all these texts, even the Yoga Sutras, that, these mystic powers are actually a great distraction. And actually, not only a waste of time, but a dangerous distraction. Because the whole point of spirituality of yoga is to get away from the material world, is to not get involved, is to get less involved with the material and then get out of here and go back home and be with God in love in His abode. So if you want to get out, why would you want to, can you imagine you're trying to leave a country. And you've decided this country is a horrible country to be in. You don't want to live there anymore. It's a dangerous country. Lots of dangerous people. Horrible government. And so you're making your plans to leave and go to another country. And then you start buying more real estate and that's it. What? It's like, weren't you leaving? Why are you buying real? Now you're getting involved, you're opening a business. You're going to open like a whole chain. You're going to invest in real estate and open a business here. You're getting out. Why? This is going to be really bad, right? You're trying to get out of this country. Now you're putting all sorts of, you're putting roots down here again. You're putting more roots down. No, that wouldn't make any sense, right? It would be like, that's a bad idea. Yeah, but while I'm getting out, I'll have more. No, but, either you get out or you stay here. What is this kind of like staying, but I'm getting out? Why would you want superpowers? Who cares about superpowers? Like, because it's me. You don't need it. God's got all the superpowers. I'm worshiping God. He can do with me whatever He wants. I don't need to take care of myself. Krishna can take care of me and give me exactly what I deserve and need. I will just serve Him in whatever situation. Why do I want this? So why would you want to invest? And again, if let's say you've never played the piano, and I say, okay, look, I need you to play it at, concert level. Yeah, you can do it. I think basically, you could, right? I think potentially everybody could become a great pianist, but it's going to take a lot of time, right? It's going to take thousands and thousands of hours, right? Then you'd be pretty good, right? If you put in 10,000 hours of piano practice, you probably get pretty good. You won't get the best, but you'll get pretty good, right? But 20,000, 30,000 hours, and then, but it's that's a lot of effort, right? 1,000 hours is a lot. So if you're going to do that, there's got to be a reason for it, right? It's got to be a motivation. No, it's my nature. I have to live my dharma. Okay. But otherwise, it doesn't make sense. And again, so you're going to put thousands of hours into a thing to use in a place where you want to get out of. It makes no sense. And then what's going to happen is you'll get these powers, and this is what they all warn us about, Krishna, and then Patanjali gives the same warning in the Yoga Sutras. And then you're going to have all these godlike powers. Then you're really going to get stuck here, aren't you? You're going to get really attached. People get attached to this world without any powers. People get attached. Can you imagine if you have all these superpowers? Then you can get really attached. You're going to be bossing the world, and you're I'm so cool. Look at me, boom. I'm bending. I'm the water bender, earth bender, fire bender. I'm doing this. Wow. You're so amazing. Yes, I am so amazing. You're going to get super caught up. You're going to get full of yourself. You're going to get pride. You're going to get lust. You're going to get so involved. And then you're going to be doing so much stuff. And what happens when you do stuff? You got a lot of karma. Right? With great power comes great responsibility. Spider-Man's uncle tells us. So then, that's lots of karma there. You have to be really careful. If you can just snap your fingers, and half the universe dies, that's a lot of karma. A lot of power. Okay, boom. Oh man, so much karma. So much karma. So, just billions and billions and billions of lifetimes of karma in one snap of your fingers if you're super powerful like that. You don't want to deal with that. So it's really bad. It's really dangerous. It's like actually extremely dangerous situation. So it's a very interesting point here. Okay, so now verse 12, Krishna says, I exist within everything, and I'm therefore the essence of the atomic constituents of material elements. By attaching his mind to me in this form, the yogi may achieve the perfection called lagima, by which he realizes the subtle atomic substance of time. Wow. Purport. Oops. Srimad Bhagavatam elaborately explains that kala, or time, is the transcendental form of the Lord that moves the material world. So of course this is a very fascinating topic of the Vedas. Kalo Ashmi, Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, in a famous verse that Oppenheimer misquoted. I am time, not death. I am time, the destroyer of all the worlds. Kalo Ashmi, I am time. Oppenheimer thought he was death. No, Krishna is also death, but he's time. Time is the real destroyer of all the worlds. Time destroys everything, right? Time is this unstoppable power that destroys the whole universe, everything, planets, suns, stars, everything, societies, civilizations, everything, your body, everything. It destroys everything without any effort. So, Krishna is time. Since the 5 gross elements are composed of atoms, the atomic particles are the subtle substance or manifestation of the movements of time. More subtle than time is the personality of Godhead himself, who expands his potency as the time factor. By understanding all these things clearly, the yogi obtains lagima, siddhi, or the power to make himself lighter than the light is. So this whole focusing on the essence of the atomic constituents of material elements and how time is the most subtle of all things, behind all matter would be time. So you focus on this subtle, the light, because it's so subtle, then you become lighter than everything else. And you can float around, you can, they would say, these yogis would ride, I like this imagery, this is in the Vedas, they would ride the sunbeams. I like that, it's very cool, very, very sci-fi, to be able to ride sunbeams, riding around photons, and somehow be able to ride around sunbeams and photons. Okay, wow, so that was very cool. We have lots more mystic powers to teach in the next classes, so make sure you come back and have the rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.